Hey there, Face Off fans, and welcome to the AFTERBUZZ TV Face Off After Show. We are talking about Season 11, Episode 7, Puppet Masters, and we're super excited because we are joined today by Gage Munster, so stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
I got no strings to hold me down, to make me fret.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the Face Off After Show. We are talking about Season 11, Episode 7, Puppet Masters. I am your host, Alana Jordan. You can find me on Twitter at Alana Jordan and on Instagram at That Alana Jordan Girl. Alexis Torres unfortunately could not join us this evening, but we have a very special guest here. Gage Munster's in the house.
Hello. Hi, everyone. I don't really okay.
We've got cameras everywhere.
I know, that's pretty
Face
cool.
off to Big Brother. Welcome.
Yeah, that's awesome, though. Hi,
And
everyone.
where can we find more from you, Gage?
Where? Anywhere. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, everything's Gage Munster. So just find me anywhere. Like, super easy to find.
And we're super excited that we were able to find you right here, right now.
Yes, right here.
Especially
right now.
because I gotta say, so last week they left us with our cliffhanger.
Yeah, which, by the way, we had no idea.
That it was-
Yeah, like Rachel and I both we were dressed and prepared and like ready to watch our elimination, and next thing we know, it's to be continued. And like meanwhile, like, you have to understand, because I don't know, silly and artsy. I dressed as like my artistic interpretation of my death. So like I'm wearing these giant Mickey ears that are made of like bone and like with welded like metal iron ears on it, and like a skull cap and like painted all black with black lenses and black teeth and like a white smile, and I'm like, crazy.
This
right?
makes so much more sense to me now, because
so-
I was at the viewing party
Yes,
with
okay,
you.
perfect. Yes,
when
you
it was all
were.
Wasteland.
Yes,
yeah, and
okay,
we were
so-
all decked out Wasteland. And I was like,
Yeah, and I
Gage is
knew,
like an evil Mickey
right,
Mouse.
you're
I
like, what
gotta
the
love
hell's-
it.
Yeah, you're like, what the hell's he doing? Yeah, everybody was dressed like we were having a Wasteland party, and I knew that, and I was like, you know what? This is kind of like my night, and that's the night I'm going out. I'm gonna dress how I want to dress, and so I dressed completely crazy. And then it was to be continued. I'm all, which made me look even crazier. I'm like, great, yeah.
I gotta say though, being there firsthand, not the craziest thing that I
Yeah,
saw all
well,
night. So no worries.
To me either, but like everyone's all, who are you? I'm all, it's me. What are you talking about? Like,
I didn't
Sig was
even
like,
recognize that it was you. Like
Yeah,
for the
Sig and-
first half of the night.
Yeah, Sig was like, I'm all, Sig, it's Gage. Like, real. And he's like, oh, well, I can't see your beard because your whole body's painted black. I'm all, oh, well, fair enough.
It wasn't until Kaylin was like, it's Gage, that I was like, oh my God, it's Gage.
Right, you're all,
So,
okay.
and if you guys want to see it firsthand, we'll send out some Instagram
Yeah.
and some Twitter pictures of the
Absolutely.
evening after
Please
this
do.
show. So
Yeah, please do, because like it was like this fun, quirky little thing I did for my elimination. I didn't get eliminated.
They
so
didn't get-
I looked completely crazy.
I gotta be honest though, I kind of, as much as I loved not having anybody be eliminated, so I was all about like Wasteland, like, yeah,
Right.
this is all awesome, there's nothing but awesomeness.
Yeah.
I kind of wish that they would have done the normal elimination, because I feel like this episode,
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be a lot bigger of a thing.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Okay.
I thought it was going to be like, hey,
Right.
look, this was a big cliffhanger. Let's see what happened.
Yeah.
Let's see like the before and the afters. Let's do big reveals. Let's
Right,
make it like a
right.
large portion.
Yeah.
And they didn't do that.
You know what's interesting is I didn't watch, because I'm like, girl, I lived it. I'm like, I know what happens, right? I was there. But while that episode was airing, I was actually working. So, but I was getting all of these tweets, right? And so many people actually said that same thing. They said it was like all this build up, and within the first like 4 minutes, it's like done and moving on.
Yeah.
And it was like
It was weird to me. It was like seeing like your favorite character in a movie get killed before the credits
right,
in
yeah,
a horror
and then
movie. Like you're like,
all, wait.
what?
Yeah, but and then the horror movie abruptly ends, and you're like, wait.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden it's a new movie, and you're like,
Right. You're on.
where am I?
I think,
Yeah, it was odd. It
You
was.
know-
I wish they would have, especially because this challenge. I'm not going to say it was a lackluster challenge, but because it was, a spotlight challenge, it wasn't an elimination challenge. We do have only 5 teams left.
Yeah.
I feel like they could have spent a little bit more time highlighting
Yeah.
at the beginning of the episode.
And what honestly, I wish they had. I I mean, I wish I had answers because I don't. But, you know, I know that the producers and the production were really trying to make this like a special season. And they were like, and when it came to mine and Rachel's elimination, it was very emotional. Like, I just bawled like a gigantic child. But it was because I was so wrapped up. I hadn't been back on the show since season 1. Coming back and seeing it had grown into this machine. Like, quite literally, it went from being like, you know, we were... on season 1, we were like, it was called Untitled Makeup Show while filming, you know, and they thought we were only going to be painting people's faces and doing like a head, and we came out of the gate doing full bodies, unaware that that's what they wanted us just to do head, like their head and their face, and by episode 2, while filming, you know, the producers came out like, just so you guys know, like, you're meeting and exceeding our expectations by 150%. This is great, keep going. We didn't know like that we were setting the bar for what it was going to become. We just kind of thought that that's what they wanted. And then coming back, and it's just such a machine, you know, and all the other contestants know the crew, like they know the camera guys, and they know, and so every now and then they're like, hey, what's up, blah, blah, blah. And I have no idea who anyone is.
Yeah, because it was 10 years.
Yeah,
like, it's 11 seasons. Like,
yeah.
I mean, not full 10 years, but like 10 season difference.
Exactly. And this is season 11. So you're coming back with like sound guys, camera guys. They all have a repertoire kind of established, even though it's vague because you're not allowed to talk to them. But there was like, you know, we would go back to the house at night and they'd be like, did you see so-and-so? And name like a camera guy. They're like, yeah, we're talking and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't know who the fuck are you talking about? Like, I don't know, you know. So it was just interesting because I felt like the odd one out kind of the whole way through, but you know, not due to anyone in particular. It was just the situation. It was like had grown into such a big thing. I was like, oh, this is cool, but it wasn't intimidating. It was like, oh, this is cool, and then it made me want to try even harder. So when, you know, ultimately we did get the boot, Rachel and I were very into our flow, into the season, into the work, and you know, we're both very much into the art of it, so we weren't trying to be quirky and campy and like over the top and silly. We were very much trying to just produce really good art and really good work, and we thought kind of that's what they might have wanted out of us this season.
I think that came across 100%. Like,
I
you
hope
guys,
so.
you absolutely, I think, just knocked it out of the park the whole time. So
I hope.
At least, you know, you get to leave here with your health held high, saying,
Yeah.
I made some really good stuff.
Exactly. That's kind of like how I agree. And that's kind of like if I could ask for anything for Rachel and I both, it would be that we could just walk away and be like, we did some cool stuff, and that's awesome. You know, ultimately we do wish we could have went further, of course. Like, you know, no one wants to go home, like, but you know, that's kind of the risk. You want to play to win, you got to also play to lose, you know, or that's the risk, you know. So it's kind of one of those things where it's par for the course. It's like you gotta it could happen,
Which is even, you know, that's how we kind of start the episode when it comes back, when George is talking about it. He's like, you know, we're sad to see our friends go, but we know that's kind of the nature of the beast, and that's how it works. So then they dive into this new challenge where they show up to the lab, and it's McKenzie standing there with a bunch of weird tools, which is always, you know, when you walk into the lab, that's got to be so weird anytime that you walk in, and it's so many strange things.
Right. Well, you know, and they keep us so much in a bubble when it comes to that sort of thing. I mean, they don't tell us where we're going. They don't tell us what's happening. I mean, often it's be up by 4:30 in the morning, be ready to go by 5 a.m. And they don't tell us where we're going. They don't tell us what we're doing.
Which is so early.
Right, which is part of the excitement. So you don't have like a problem getting up that early. You're like, okay, cool. And like you'll get a quick cup of coffee, maybe something to eat. You know, you have to make everything yourself. But, you know, and then you're out the door, and then you're loaded. You get in a van, and they take you to wherever. And it's like, even on that the very first episode of the season where we're out on a cliff somewhere, like it was very like, wake up, and we drove, and we were like out on the cliff. I'm like, okay, and we were there forever. I remember we were there for hours just sitting while they, you know, the crew showed up, and they set up cameras around a bend so we couldn't see. And we were like waiting and waiting and waiting, and then finally they're like, okay, now we're gonna have you guys walk around the corner. And we're like, okay, and like that's kind of how everything is. That you just go through it completely.
Hurry up, wait.
Yeah, and completely blindfolded too. So Yeah.
That's intense.
It was very intense, yeah. And it's so interesting. The whole process is interesting because then you watch it and you see how they edit it and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that they were going to do that. Or like they use a soundbite like that you're like, oh, I didn't even remember saying that. Or this season in particular, I just know that I'm like, we're not really in this season anywhere.
That was kind of something that I thought was a little odd, especially episode 1, where they basically, you have this awesome, like, we're Team Rage, we're awesome. And then you're like, reveal stage.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, okay, well, I could have done a little bit more Team Rage. But
right, yeah. I mean, well, that was interesting, too, because normally with the top or bottom look, I feel like sometimes they'll give you a little bit more, you know.
Right.
But I do recall that being so odd just because it was, we're Team Rage, and then like 100% you do not see us until the reveal stage. I'm like, you're a top look, and we're like, great. And then like I'm like, but normally, like, and we did this insane concept, and we went so, you know, we made our entire suit, we did like so much, and they didn't show like one iota of it, and then that kind of repeated throughout the whole season. Because
I'm telling you, what I want really bad, and I keep saying this, and I know that it will not happen, but I just want it, is I want like an additional face-off, like web series, like from your perspective.
Right. Yeah, you know what, it was interesting, and it was kind of like, I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, but like the first season they didn't know what they were going to do, and they had debated on giving us each like these little camcorders, right? And we could film each other in the house doing like whatever, like going to bed or having a food fight or whatever, and kind of like going from the house to the lab.
I want that.
Wouldn't that be amazing to be edited into? I agree. I always thought that would have been
even
so
if it was
cool.
just like on the website as like an additional like face-off house, like an extra show, like in the house, because this season we also didn't really see you guys in the house. We had this little area in the lab that they set up, that felt, we saw it some in this episode too, when everybody was talking about their different concepts, and they were saying, you know, some of them got kind of dark and everyone's describing their things, and that was fun to see. But it also kind of felt like, okay, but let's see some more of like the making of the things, because we know that you guys are fun and like funny, and we have the one-on-one interviews, we have like the you know, the booth stuff, so I would have liked to see a little bit more of it. But that's my own little nitpicky.
No, but that's the thing. I think even we as artists feel that way, and I think it gives you guys, even if we were to do that and like have it as a separate bonus thing on like the website, it would give the audience and it would give people out there watching a little bit more of an opportunity to connect with us as people, so they can understand where the art is coming from. Because the thing is, season 1 we did a lot of in-house reality, a lot. So I met a lot of people after we did the first season. We're like, I feel like I know you. I've seen you like just sitting in your bed, like eating breakfast. I'm like, oh yeah, that's true, you did. But again, that's not really me. But I understand.
Later,
exactly.
It changes.
Exactly, and they took it out, and their reason being is that they weren't going to do in-house reality, is what they call it. They weren't going to do any of that because they wanted just it to be art, which is another reason why approaching it, Rachel and I took this very serious artistic approach to what we were doing, and we tried to really be like, okay, sculpting and painting and like, you know, fabricating and really showing our chops, but they didn't show any of it. I mean, the whole season, and that's my own personal thing. Like, we don't know that until we watch it. But my feedback I've gotten from a lot of people and from watching it is that we're not really showcased. And at
least now, though, we can give people your social media. They can follow you. They can get some more. We can have more Gage.
Yeah, exactly.
More Team Rage.
Exactly.
More
and,
Gage and Rachel.
Yeah, because we work together all the time. So I mean, please, like, check it out. We worked together before the show. We ended up on the show together, which is fantastic and awesome. And then I mean, we have more stuff coming up together. Like, Rachel's my buddy, she's my best friend, and I love her so much. She's great, and she's an amazing
I love
artist,
it.
so.
I love the love on this show. Like, I just love it. So let's talk a little bit about this episode and the different looks that we had going on. So this challenge was a Pinocchio based challenge, where if Geppetto was not a cobbler, if he didn't have the wood resources, what would he have made Pinocchio out of?
Yep.
Which is a clever concept.
Yeah. It's fun. It's whimsical and fun.
It's fun, yeah. Which Emily even said she loves it because it's whimsical with not being over the top whimsical.
Right. And that's the thing, is like, this is probably this challenge and one other one that's coming up in a little while, is one that the only ones that I would have wanted. I would have sacrificed all the other challenges just to be able to have this. And of course, it's the one right after I go. And I'm like, oh man. Like, and it was like mine and Rachel's first time in the bottom too. And they're like, bye. I'm all, But like, okay, it's our first time here. I'm like,
Now, if you guys had been on this challenge,
Yes.
we had the different options. There was the blacksmith, the tailor, the stonemason, the goldsmith, and the tanner. Which one would you have wanted?
honestly, I would have wanted, and I've thought about this. So it's funny you ask, because I always think about like, well, what would I have done? I would have wanted the stonesmith or the ironsmith, because I mean, those are I don't know, those are kind of rich source material.
Yeah.
You know, I love what, I mean, I'm gonna be real. I loved what Emily and Tyler did. Like, I mean, because we all know what each other did, and we see each other's work.
Yeah.
Even when
Now,
we're not there.
Adam and Logan
officially.
actually had the stonemason,
They
so
sure did.
we'll talk about them. We actually have a photo of their work too.
Yes. I love
Now,
that
this
thing.
is one that the judges were not feeling. I loved this.
Yes.
I thought this was awesome. They went very, very different from everybody else. They went very whimsical,
Yes, they did.
which I think this was the perfect challenge for.
I do
think
too.
that I completely
Yeah.
disagree with the judges on this one. I thought
do
this one
too.
was brilliant. Even, Adam says when
Mm-hmm.
he's talking about him and Logan being so enthusiastic about it, and that enthusiasm is half the battle on Face Off.
Yeah, it
This is the
is.
first challenge I really saw them get super duper enthusiastic, and I thought it definitely showed. I thought it was hilarious to have, a sailor that is made out of stone.
Right. Well,
just...
that was exact. Okay. So here's the thing: is and this is something that no one knows because they don't. So this is like you're getting like a little scoop here, but our
AfterBuzz exclusive.
right? Yeah. Our mine and Rachel's elimination was so intense and so traumatic. There was a lot you guys didn't see, like in terms of everyone was devastated. The contestants were. And the judges say a lot of things to us that you guys do not see. I mean, a lot. And on that, our elimination, they were very, very hard on me and Rachel, and they said some things that were very, very hurtful. And that being said, the other contestants that were there, Adam and Logan, were there for that. They were very upset. Like Logan, I remember, put his arm on me. I was fine because I was like, I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry. And, I think it was Adam and Logan's second time in the bottom that time. It was Kaylin and Melissa's third time in the bottom that time. So everyone really, it was our first time there, and we weren't, not that we weren't prepared for it, but we weren't.
in the mindset that could be a possibility.
Exactly. And then when they said us, I was fine, I was composed. And then Logan was like, are you all right? And I just like immediately went into crybaby mode and just started bawling, just because the realization that I'm not going to be there, and I probably have let a lot of people down. That was my biggest concern. I know McKenzie very well. She's a friend of mine. After we did the first season, became friends with her and her father. So watching her having to be the one to send me home and like seeing her cry, she's cried. They didn't show it. They cut away from her, but she was bawling. So, I got off stage, I hugged her, and I said a few words to the judges, and then we went backstage, and backstage, everyone was crying.
See,
There was not a dry eye.
I don't know why. Like, this is all before, the intro even. I just don't get it. I don't get it.
I think they did that to make more time for this challenge in particular. So, Emily's bawling. Emily was hysterical. Like, she couldn't calm down because Emily was like, told me, and she maintains that I'm the reason she became a makeup artist. She said she's so young. On the first season of Face Off, she's like, I come home.
Crazy. You kind of forget how young she is because she does all these amazing things. And I'm like, you are a teenager.
Yeah, she's incredible. Yeah, the thing is that she would come home from high school, and she'd be like, I would watch you every day. She's always 14, and I'd come home, I'm like, oh my God. Well, that makes me feel so old. But it's sweet, and so she was devastated. So moving into this challenge the very next day, everyone was really down. I shared a room with Sig and George in the house, so they were really down. Like, everybody was bummed because we don't ever want to see anyone go, but especially like, I don't know, the way it was handled, I think it was hurtful for everyone. So the reason that they made that one, the reason that they made a Stone Boy and made it comical, is to try to lighten the mood and bring everyone up and make everyone happy. And I thought that was so genius and so sweet of them, because
which makes sense because everybody was talking about like how dark everybody was going on this challenge.
Well, because by then we've been sequestered. You're sequestered, so you're cut off. You don't have TV, phones, music, movies, videos, internet, computers, nothing. You just sit in a room and talk for the whole time you're there. So by that point, I think we had been there for a month and a half with no communication with anyone. And so we just had each other. And so it was another reason when people go, it's really hard. So they did that that one, which I thought was so cool and so cute, in the fact that he's like wants to be a sailor and he would just sink.
And
I
then
thought
Logan
that was genius.
did, using the wire cutter tool, then making like the goofy smile. I thought they did a really great job. I loved the story that they told too, and I kind of felt a little bit of the burn when Glenn was like, "Unfortunately, there is no amount of goofy storytelling that can save this look."
That's the thing, is they were so hard on us this season.
Yeah, it was, and I get that it's it's an all-star season, but I thought that look was great. I thought it was a bit excessive.
Yeah, well, and it was, and when he said that, it's kind of like, really, girl? Okay, calm down. We get it. You don't like it. You don't have to be rude.
It's like, and I liked the story. I'm like, okay, we can calm down a little bit of that fast. Right.
Thank you. And then, like, in the amount of time we have, like, that's an incredible look to pull
It was
off.
so cool, and they loved it. Like, they loved what they were working on the whole time. They were like super enthusiastic, like adding in all the things. I thought it was great.
Yeah,
I
agree
disagree with the judges. I think that most of the fans agree too.
Well,
I think we all liked it.
and the thing is, like, Adam and Logan, that's their style. Adam is such a fun dude. Like, I have a very quirky sense of humor. I'm very out there, and I'm very, like, because I just don't care. Like, I'm a grown man in my 30s. Like, I've pretty, like, I've been through the gamut and being made fun of and getting, like, my ass handed to me when I was a kid. So I just don't care. Like, I really don't care. I'm like, middle fingers to the world. I'm going to do me, and I'm going to have fun. And so Adam picked up on that. And right away, and that was Adam. That, when I look at that, I'm like, that's Adam, that's Logan. It's
I loved
fun.
it. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
Now, Ben and Evan also struggled a little bit this week. I think we have a photo of their look as well. They had the goldsmith.
They did, yeah.
Now, we've seen a lot this season. They've been feeling kind of a little uninspired. They say, quote, like, they're just not feeling it.
Yeah.
And then Evan's even kind of giving himself this little pep talk where he's like, we got to snap out of it. You guys are better than this.
Yeah.
And do you find moments on the show where you kind of like you hit a wall and you just have to find that enthusiasm? Did you think that this season versus season 1 having this being partnered up with somebody, do you think that helped with that, or do you think that was almost a strike against you?
I think for the majority of us, it was more difficult being in a team, because when you're not in a team, you're just focusing on your work and you. You're not worried about your partner and making sure they're happy, making sure they're okay, making sure they're being heard, making sure they're doing what they want. Like, it's very much, but that was why they did it, because it's more challenging. But at the same time, it does hinder you as an artist, I think, for everybody, because you're not doing what you want. And it's hard. You're taking an artist and saying, you're a great artist, now do something that you wouldn't necessarily normally do and you may not necessarily be happy with, and let's let the whole world watch. And in this case with theirs, they do struggle a lot. I mean, we all struggled a lot this season just because we were so worried about one another, but also making sure it was good. They would always, I don't know how Ben and Evan ever did it, but like they would go into last looks with like the most work I've ever seen any human have to do, and they would just turn it out in last looks. It's insane.
I actually liked this one. Now I know that they felt like it was kind of, just they had to come up with something, so they were like, well, we'll do a ballerina, and they didn't do the face piece. They added in the different neck pieces and everything to make it look like it was assembled. I loved that. I thought it was genius.
I
agree with V that when you paint the skin, it doesn't quite come across as metal,
right?
Which I didn't even think about, like the little hairs, like that makes sense on your skin, like why that wouldn't read as smooth. But when you have that short amount of time, what are you going to do?
Yeah,
like, okay, well then we'll just go dip her in some metal then.
Right,
like, you can definitely do that with a human.
Well, and that's the thing is, like, anytime you're painting also, when you're blending an appliance on somebody and you're painting them one solid color, that edge on those appliances is going to pop no matter what. It's just because you're not, when you're painting skin tones, you're layering your colors and you're getting reds in there, you're getting pinks in there, you're getting whites in there, you're getting all kinds of different skin tones going on. And the thing with when you're doing a flat color, it's going to show the edge of your appliance. There's no blending that you can do, because it's like, oh, it's just going to be copper, or it's just going to be gold or bronze or whatever.
And Michael Westmore had the good idea of adding in, the different highlights, the bronze and things, so that it's not all gold.
Right.
Which, I do love getting to see him too come in and give his feedback and everything.
I love him.
I mean, even this one, it felt like, even Evan even said he felt like, this paint job, any paint we put on will look bad no matter what.
Yeah.
And once you get kind of to that mentality, I feel like
it's kind of they did struggle a lot, I think, because once you're kind of like, once the judges kind of berate you so many times in a row, because like the thing is that what they do, even on the first challenge, like when you're a top look, they talk about how bad everything is first. And then they go, but we like it. And it's like, but by then you're so disappointed in doubting yourself that it wears on you. And I think that's what Ben and Evan were experiencing, because the judges
They've been in the bottom, the past few weeks. They've been in the bottom, several times.
Yeah.
So I can definitely see why that would kind of...
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, like dampen your spirits a little bit.
It does. And you can't, it's hard to find guster to muster to keep going. You're not like super gung-ho about it because, oh, that's right, because yesterday on the show it's a week, but in all actuality it's a
hours.
day.
It's like 12-hour difference.
Correct, because they're pushing you, so you don't get rest, you don't get sleep, you barely eat, and it's just go. Hurry and be an artist at 5 a.m. Hurry.
Kaylin and Melissa, though, they had a top look this week. They were able to really rock it out.
Yep.
They were kind of nervous about it because they divvied up their work.
Correct.
And when you divvy up work, it is difficult, I think, to always remember to go and check in and kind of make sure that everything's
right
meshing. So they were kind of worried about it. I actually thought that this look came across amazing.
I love this look.
I absolutely adore. I wish there could have been a 3-way tie for first, because this looks so cool. Anything that lights up, I'm in love with. And the fact that they fabricated so many different things that lit up, including even like the stove on the back. That's, again, I want a 360 look. I want a 360 mirror. I want to see all of it.
So this is the thing with the season that I do not understand, is that they do not show the backs a lot on the judging stage. So Rachel and I always addressed the back as well as the front. Now some people go, well, what are you wasting your time on the back? Like, blah, blah, blah. Because in film and in the film world, and I can say this because I'm a working artist and I have been for a very long time, is you have to make a full character. You have to address every aspect of it, because they're not going to film it from just right here. You got to address everything.
Exactly.
So on the first challenge, on the second challenge, on the third challenge, Rachel and I always did just as much detail on the back as we did the front, and we were kind of knocked for it. Like, they're like, why are you wasting all that? I'm
Which
like,
is surprising to me. Like, I love when they have the guest judges. Like, this week we had Suzanne Todd come in, who has worked, producing films like Memento, Alice in Wonderland. I really would love more for them to bring in more directors, though, because I feel like, especially when they brought in like John Landis,
that was cool.
He was like, okay, let's see the whole thing.
Well,
let's see what's going on, because as a director, that's your mentality. You're thinking, how can I use this in my movie?
Right. And that on that challenge in particular, both of our characters, who's had to do too, the front and the back were addressed, and the back was opening up in this Venus flytrap thing with these really long teeth. I put up photos on all my social media so you can go see them, but on the show I was so disappointed because they didn't show it, and John Landis loved it. He was like, I love this. He called it a back vagina, but he was like, I love this. I think it's great. And he had such a great sense of humor about it. And as a director, he knows that he's going to want to film it from here or here. On the day when you get there might be this malfunctioning, or that might not be working, so they have to hurry and do it from over here instead of over there. And so you have to address the full character, and that's what we always did and never showed. And it's just a bummer.
I do wish that they would add in a 360 cam to it, just because, like, I love seeing the face morph. But I would love to see a face morph and then body and then like a 360 look.
Well, it's interesting.
It's kind of like a what not to wear thing.
Right.
Like,
what's interesting is, like, we film that. We film when we're sculpting, especially on like that Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde challenge. They have us pull out our sculptures, and then they do a 360 shot of us sculpting, and they do a turnaround and stuff. They never use any of it. And I'm like, but that would be so cool.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
Now this, like,
I love it.
I love too using that L200 and making it look like real metal.
Yeah.
Absolutely knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
I know that they had, a little bit of a struggle with kind of painting over each other, and Melissa was kind of feeling like Kaylin was painting over her, and so then she went back and painted over it.
Right.
But ultimately, it really worked out because they had a very cohesive look.
Yeah, and not only that, what's great about painting rust and rotted things is that it's layers, it's textures. So even if you're going over it in layers and layers, it's still going to look really cool. I told them now, like, when I saw this, like, right after we were done filming the season, we all kind of had some photos here and there of, like, the looks. When I saw this, I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. Like, that's neat. But it's so funny because they have like a cage over the heart, and we got knocked so hard on Mad Max for having a cage over his chest. I'm like, but I guess it's all about how you use it.
Yeah.
But it was I thought it was dope.
I loved it. Yeah, and I love that they pointed out like the patina, the green, like adding in like just a little bit of rust, but not making it everywhere.
Yeah.
And I thought it looked great. And considering that they, even addressed that they had, quote, what artistic difference of opinion, and still were able to do an amazing show. It was pretty awesome. An amazing look was pretty awesome.
I agree completely.
Now, we also, Sig and George did an amazing look too. They had the tanner.
Yeah.
And they were able to really come out with a great look.
Oh, yeah.
I think we do have a photo of that one too.
I love
this
it.
one, George loved too, because he's been working with marionette since he was 19.
Yeah.
So anytime we see you guys get really excited about something, you know that it's going to be something that's going to knock out, they're just knocking it out. He, of course, worked with Dave Barkley, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
Did
no,
Yoda
it's
and
really
Jabba
cool.
the Hutt.
Yeah, you know what's funny is like, because I think George and I work quite a bit in the actual like film industry. So he's worked with and on some amazing stuff. And so when we would go back, like when I look at this piece, all I see is Sig and George, because that's like their personalities, you know? They're very like, you know...
Their personalities and their aesthetics just match so well.
Correct. Yeah, that's...
Which I feel like kind of gave them a little bit of an edge.
Yeah.
Because they both kind of have very similar looks.
Yeah, definitely. And see, with this look in particular, I love the way that they did the hair, like the leather pieces. I thought it was really, really cool. I liked it. I honestly, like, looking at this whole challenge, like, I think everyone across the board did so amazing to me. Like, I don't know. When I look at past seasons of Face Off, and I'm not ragging on any particular season, but when I look at it, I feel like some seasons the quality just kind of dropped and it wasn't there. And you know, when you're watching it as someone who's been on it, you're like, we were sent home for less on my season.
Yeah.
You know, but then they're getting away with it. But you know, that's neither here nor there. But when I look at all the work on this season, even the work that's, you know, people are being sent home on, it's still such good work.
People are being sent home this season on looks that would have won other challenges.
Exactly, yeah. And I'm like, you know, and I don't know. I think this is a great makeup. I think all of them on this particular challenge
I think that's such a testament to all of you guys, though, about like how you really you are the all-star season. This is like the pinnacle of what we've seen. This is the ultimate.
You know what's funny too is like with this season, we all made a decision. We're like, okay, you know what? We're gonna make if someone gets sent home, let's make it the hardest decision the judges have to try to justify. And we did, but I mean, of course, that made it very emotional when people would go. I'm like, oh, that sucks, but I don't know. It's like
it's fun for us though to get to see so many awesome things.
Yeah,
so.
and you know, and I feel like I'm like we paid close attention to our edges and our blending and our seaming on this one. We really tried to make it pretty smooth and cohesive and really good looks, you know, but. I don't know. I look at this season, I think the work is so great. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, is anyone watching? Like, are people watching this season? Because, like, by season 11, you never know if people are still tuning in, if they're not tuning in.
I think people are still all about the Face Off.
I hope so.
We are, at least.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's great because I think this season is packed with a lot of talented people, you know, and they're all my friends. Like, they're all my friends. And, like, the next one that is coming up is, like, I'm so excited. Yeah.
Now, this look, one thing that I really, really liked about this one as well is that they were able to do the hand, and if we could actually go back to the photo of the tanner real quick. We're going to talk a little bit more about that one, Sig and George's.
Yeah.
Number 4 there. They actually went through and Sig made the texturing where it looked like he would hand lay the embroidery pattern and the fillery and everything looked awesome.
Yeah.
Actually, can we put up a photo of that? Not the ballerina one, but the one right before it. Yeah, there we go. Let's take a look at that. And you guys can see how far away and close up it would read perfectly.
Yeah.
Like real leather. So I loved Michael Westmore saying that, you know, he didn't want it to come across as Frankenstein-y with too many stitches. So they did a really good job of making everything look really clean. And I loved that at first when they were painting it, that it wasn't really reading how they wanted.
Yeah.
So George was like, okay, I have an idea. Let's try this. Let's put some diluted makeup to kind of the black to settle into the cracks.
Yeah.
And then blot it all off.
Yeah, to give it like worn leather.
Yeah, and it ended up making a world of difference.
Yeah.
It was just such a last minute idea.
That's those things.
Those
last minute decisions. Like moving. That's what I mean. Is like Ben and Evan were great at that. Like, going into last looks, you're finding little things that like really just make your piece come to life and come together. And it's always funny because like the makeups on camera read completely different than in person. So in person, like we'll look at each other's and be like, oh, that's cool. And then when you see it on the show, you're like, oh my god, that looks so dope on the show. Like, you know, like it's crazy. But then sometimes there's looks that are winning looks that you're like, okay, I can see that. And then when you watch it on the camera, you're like, oh, everything's kind of blown out.
It's like it's weird when we see it on air versus you know, like the close-ups versus the far away, seeing it, you know, in real life versus not. So it's got to be interesting too to see, you know, as an artist, to see how it comes across on screen.
And that's another thing that's like super nerve-wracking, because you're like, in person I know it looks fantastic, but how's it going to look on the show? But like, I think for the most part everyone was pretty happy this season, like with our looks, like this one especially.
This one was great, especially because they went into last looks, and we even, for the first time that I remember in a long time, Zig even says, okay, well, let's just change our whole concept in last looks. Yeah. So it started out as this really funny, whimsical, over-the-top creature, and then as they were able to kind of see how it pieced together, they were like, you know, this is reading a lot kind of scarier and more serious and darker than originally intended. So I love that they scrapped the horns, even though they had spent so much time on the hat. Yeah. I would have been really sad if we hadn't seen the hat at all, so I was very glad that Sig wore it on the stage.
Yeah, I know. Well, you know, it's interesting. It's so funny. I don't know. It's so funny how those things work, because they don't, like for the Mad Max challenge, we all painted our faces, and they made us wash it off before we went out. I'm like, no, you can't. And then the very next challenge, you're like, yeah, do whatever you want. And I'm like, what? Why is... It's like, it feels it's okay for certain people to do things, and then but not you. You're like, but okay, fine. Because I totally had war makeup on with like a black line. It was very like Blade Runner-y. And like, wash it off now before you go on stage. I'm like, why?
That's kind of a bummer. I think that would have looked cool.
Dang it. Yeah, but I love this look, even with the hat. Without the hat, I think it's super cool.
Yeah, and I love that they do tell the judges too, we were going to do this leather mustache, we were going to do this, you know, hat, but we scrapped it in last looks. Right. So that they're able to say, we did the work. Like, just so you know, look at what we did. This was a choice that we picked this. And I'm glad that they did that, because I feel like otherwise the judges could have maybe knocked them for not doing as much.
Right.
And because they were able to see that it was, but because they were able to see that that was a conscious decision, that they said, we're looking at this character. Yeah. We're trying to pick the choices that are best for the character. Yeah. Even if it's, you know, kind of hurtful to us a little bit to have to make this awesome thing and then be like, yeah. I thought that's a great testament to them, that they're able to.
I agree. Well, their decision making's on point. You know, what's funny is like that can go either way too, because I've been on some of our challenges where we're like, these are conscious decisions we made. They hold it. You can either hold it against you, or if it depends on the mood they're in, or they can be like, it's genius, and it's like, okay, or they can be like, it's terrible. And I'm like, okay. Or
sometimes they'll say both.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
what I keep finding, is that they'll say like one thing and you get all this feedback, and then somebody comes on stage and they're like, opposite of what we just said.
Yeah,
and you're like,
yeah, I know. And I'm like, but wait a minute. Okay. Yeah, that happens a lot. And I feel like that happened a lot with Sig and George a lot. I feel like they were very, a lot more lenient with them than they were with some of us. They were super harsh on us with our critiques, and like, you should have done this. But we just told you we did. Yeah. And I'm like, well, you shouldn't have done it that much. And it's like, okay, wait, what? Yeah. You know, and so it's such an interesting, like, balancing act. I think, you know, when I look at all these pieces, especially with theirs, like, I'm like, I think all of their decision making is great.
It was so good. It was so good. And Matt absolutely sold it.
Oh, yeah.
We've had Matt on before, too, and he's absolutely great.
Well, he is, and he was our model. I think the episode before this one, the one we went home on, he was our model, and then he was the model for this. So he was great, because he loved on the last challenge that we went for more of a Thunderdome look instead of a Fury Road look. So he was into it because he got to emote, you know, a lot and act a lot, and he was like super into that, and I was super grateful, because he came out on stage and he did all this really great stuff that it's not really.
Now, this is why we had this wardrobe choice. Right, like, it probably would be different to go with the makeup now. But,
right.
And that Bea even flat out says that she's glad that they didn't, quote, goof them up with a bunch of silly stuff.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is like, it's such a balancing act, especially with Ve. Ve is a tough cookie. Funny, because like, yeah, that's true. That's true. And
because it'd be one thing if she was just like harumph, but she's like, here's a little bit of edge. Like,
it's so funny, because being there, I feel like there's a lot of harumph, and there's only one like little bit of edge, and that's the one little thing they use. Because like, you wonder, like, you cut to us and you wonder why we're all like, oh God, and it's not because she said one little thing. It's because there's like a mantra of really mean things followed by like one kind of mean thing, and they use the one kind of mean thing, and then you're just left devastated, and everyone's like, God, why are they so sad? Like, grow a pair. And I'm like, you don't even understand. Like, this woman's won so many Academy Awards, and she's a peer and an idol in our makeup world, and she's telling us how terrible we are for like using too much green.
It has to be so weird too, like having somebody that you idolize and then just having them be like,
right,
trash.
Well, it's so funny because like I think I've been in LA now for 11 years working professionally, so I kind of like I learned early on, because I met, and this sounds so bad, but I met so many people. I idolized like 4 or 5 people when I moved out here, and I met them all, and they were all so terrible to me. They were the meanest
Never
people.
meet your idols.
No, and or that famous saying, "Kill your idols," which means like not quite literally, but like mentally, and don't put people on a pedestal, and kind of understand people are people. And so I learned that pretty quickly, and I kind of was just like, I look at art and I look at the work and I appreciate the work. And also you learn that like so many makeup artists, even the ones that are on pedestals are part of a team. There's 10 for every one person. There's like 10 people behind them that are representing them, helping them get from point A to point B. So I gained a lot of acknowledgement and respect for the people in the shops and the people in the labs. It's like the Ve won, say she won an Academy Award for maybe, or did Batman Returns and did The Penguin. But there were people at Stan Winston Studios that were sculpting everything and molding everything and fabricating everything and gave her those beautiful pieces that she could apply and blend and paint. So it's it's a team. It
takes a village.
Yeah, and so I gained personally so much respect for so many more people, and I'm like, okay, well, I may not idolize anybody really anymore, but I have so much respect for so many more.
Right.
And that I think is really, really important. And Glenn, balance, like, he rides that fine line of being like he is in a shop and he owns a shop and he understands that, and also being on set with applications and all that. So Glenn gave us some pretty honest feedback, and he wasn't that bad or terrible this season at all. He was
Glenn just looks like such a badass that I think they were like, let's like make him the badass.
Yeah.
And he's like, I look awesome, but also I am awesome.
Right, yeah.
And you're like, okay.
Yeah, exactly. And he's a great guy. Like, I mean, after we did the first season of the show, I would go and I would have little kids write me and want autograph photos. And so what I would do is I would send them one for free, of course, but I would take it and try to get everyone that was local, that was part of the show, to sign it for free and just send it to them. So I went up, and he was like, yeah, absolutely, and he would sign a couple. And then McKenzie, I would meet her for lunch and she would sign a couple. And like, because I think that's important. If you're given a voice on any kind of a platform, I think you have a responsibility to use it to do positive things and inspire and create change and do good things. So that's what I would do since season 1 if people asked.
Love that.
And so he was great, and he's still great. And
Now somebody else who was great this week,
oh yeah,
Emily and Tyler.
Oh
my gosh, this was amazing. Now I gotta be honest, when Kaylin and Melissa walked out of their blacksmith, I was like, oh, nothing can top this. And then this walked on stage, and I was like, okay, well.
Yeah, well, this is it, and this is the thing, is like they didn't know it at the time, but after they finished it, they were aware they had something super special.
Yeah, because they were going into it, they came up with this idea. They had the tailor, and so they were going to make this marionette ballerina that was supposed to dance forever.
Yeah.
But as anything would, after a while it starts to wear down. So they do a very great job of showing the weather on it. I do have to say, though, again, models who can sell it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Quite literally, that model was on point.
So, yeah, well, this is the thing, is they didn't even know she was an actual ballerina. That was just luck of the draw. She's like, oh, no, I know, I'm a ballerina. Like, I'm a trained ballerina. Like, they're like, what? And so she used that to help bring the makeup to life. Again, it's like, you got to give it up for the talent that's behind.
Amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, and when I saw the photos of it, I was like, oh my God. Like, it's the most beautiful thing I have ever seen.
It's incredible. And they did such a great work of balancing the work, such a great job where, Emily was working on the face while Tyler worked on the joints, and Emily would come in and like paint the joints. So they were each had their hands in all the elements of it, which was really cool. And then seeing Emily be like, okay, you know what? There would be a little bit of, fabric for some weatherness here. Let me try to make up a technique real quick and see how it works. And then shave the moleskin and attach it.
Yep.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, well, that's
Absolutely
the thing, is like
phenomenal.
we have things that we could use to do that, but we're not allowed to. Like on the show, you do have safety advisors. Like if you're doing something too crazy, they'll step in and go, stop, that you can't do that. Sorry, but you can't. And so if it's unsafe. So in that particular scenario, in that particular situation, what you would normally use, which is stuff called flocking, which is like fibers. We couldn't use because we wanted to do that on our Monster High doll we got this Monster High doll that had a shaved head on the side, and we wanted to do that fuzz with that. And they forbade us not to. They were like, you can't, because if it's toxic to breathe in and yada yada. And we're like, okay, well, that sucks. So she really wanted to use that technique on the face, and they told her no, and she had to come up with something on the fly.
That's
and
crazy.
it was
I had no
super
idea.
Beautiful. Yeah.
I've seen people use flocking though for nails and make like little furry monster nails.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
But I had no idea that it was like super toxic.
You just don't want to be breathing it in, right? And so we would glue it down and we would seal it, but there's still an off chance that it could also. Our another reason is the models wear contacts, so when they're putting their lenses in, if fibers fall in with their lens, it could be harmful to them.
Corneas.
So they really do. We do have safety advisors there, like, don't let us completely run free because we might harm somebody. But so she thought up that off the top of her head, and it's like the most I think it looks better than the flocking probably would have.
It looks amazing, and it's something that I've definitely never seen because I don't think anybody's done it before. I think she was just like, this isn't an elimination, so let's hope for the best, and hopefully this doesn't ruin it. And they just made it insanely amazing.
She's incredible. And Emily is like one of I talked about it in my interviews, and they never showed it, but I always said Emily is like a natural born artist, and being around her and being working like around her, you see it, and it's like so awesome. It's like, that's right, we're all artists and we're doing this for fun. And and
she's so young too, so she still has like that super vivacious energy, and she's so excited about everything.
And I'm like, I felt like the old man this season because I was looking around. I'm like, I think I'm older than almost anybody here. I think me and Ben Plowman were the oldest. I was like, I need a cup of coffee, please. And I'm not even that old. I'm 32, but like, being on the show surrounded by so many whippersnappers that are so vivacious and so like, yeah, let's go. Because I think I was 26 when we did the first season. And then cut to now I'm 32, and I'm like, I just need a cup of coffee. I promise I'll be okay. She'd wake up and be like, yeah, let's go. All right. Like,
Emily is like a living cup of coffee. I feel like she's just her own little espresso bean. Like
she is so wonderful though. Like I have to tell you how much I love Emily Serpico, and I've gone on record many times, but like I watched her on her season, and I met her at a convention shortly after. She ran. I just see this like a lot of hair bobbing through like people, and then she runs up to me and she's like, Gage. She hugged me immediately, and I hugged her, and I was like, I've been wanting to meet you. She's like, no, I've been wanting to meet you. Sit down. And I like sat down, and she's like, you inspired me so much, and I just wanted to let you know how grateful I am that you did the first season, because without you, I wouldn't have ever wanted to be on the show. I wouldn't have ever wanted to be a makeup artist. And that, like, to me is like the coolest. Like, I always just sit back and I'm like, oh, that's cool. Because like when you see an incredible artist and they say you inspired them, it's like so rewarding. I think it's like one of the most rewarding things that can happen to you. And with this, it's like with this look, with her and Tyler working together, Tyler's this just wonderful guy.
Tyler is awesome.
Yeah, he is so positive. Like there were always times where like if any of us were down, he was always smiling and like, yeah, but that's okay. Like you could literally be like, oh, my mother died yesterday. And he's like, yeah, that's terrible. And like super smiling, like really like energetic, and like that positive, constant positivity really helped get through for everybody. Helped get through the season.
Well, they had a lot to be positive for this one too, because everything they tried just worked perfectly. It was like beautiful. The foam that looked like fabric was just absolutely perfect. Yeah. Having the little sewing needles in the hair, which of course with Emily there has to be some little hair element.
Well, because Emily is like, she's like a certified like hair person. Yeah. She makes lace front wigs. Her and her mother own a company for it. Yeah.
Which is so funny because her natural hair is so pretty. Yeah. But I'm like, can you make me a wig of your hair?
Of just your hair, yeah.
Like,
and it's so funny because like her hair.
She probably could very easily.
Her hair is not always super like puffed up. So like before we go on to the judging stage, she would always have a can of hairspray, and she'd be like teasing it, making it really big. And then like I remember distinctly for 2 episodes she had spray glitter that was in the shop. So before we went onto the judging stage, she was just drenching herself in spray glitter, and then she would like torture like all the boys like Ben and Evan and like by spraying them with glitter, and they were like, get away from me. I didn't care. I was like, girl, you can come at me with glitter all you want. I don't give a fuck.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, she's great. And
like a living Claire store.
Yeah, she's awesome.
And happiness everywhere.
And she's so funny because you forget she's young, so she does like young things. Like she would always be like, "Ew, gross." Like she would look at like walk up and look at you and go, "Ah," and I'm all, okay. That's such a, I get it now.
Or like all the movies that she hadn't seen, that episode that they were just like, and I'm like, she's had like 2 decades on the earth. Let's give her a break.
Yeah,
okay?
right. I know. Well, that's the thing is I'm like, it's cool. Like some people watch movies, some people don't. I was raised on movies, but that like I didn't have any friends. So I would watch movies. Yeah, so I'd watch, so I'd watch movies and listen to music. And I was like super into Smashing Pumpkins and Nine Inch Nails and Garbage. And I watched all kinds of horror movies and science fiction movies because it's just me. And then, you know, that's what inspired me, though, to go on and work on films and, you know, to read Fangoria magazine and figure out how they did it. Because we didn't have internet and YouTube and, like, blah, blah, blah. So it was all about, you had to figure it out on your own. So, you know, and for her, I mean, she was just kind of an artist. She just painted all the time and did her thing. And, like, that was her vice. So.
And it's cool seeing you guys kind of figure out these things on your own, like in the shop, like pulling all these different materials. Yeah. And it's really cool when we get to see you guys get really excited about your looks too. Yeah. So when Emily flat out said, like, this may be my favorite makeup. Yeah. I'm like, oh, I can't wait until it walks onto the stage. Yeah, you're all, because I know it's going to be It's going to be so good.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is, like, everything Emily did, though, she, like, everything she touched was beautiful.
All you guys did this season, though, like, I don't think that there was a single weak link this entire season, which is kind of rough because sometimes I feel like, you know, you do have a little bit of time to kind of settle, and there's some people who come on that feel like, maybe this isn't for me. But the All-Star season, everybody's in it to win it. You're there from the get-go. Nobody is making anything not amazing.
Well, right. That's the thing is, like, and I guess rightly so, it's an All-Star season, so, but we all agreed, we're like, we got to make it top-notch. If it's going to be All-Stars, let's really make it an All-Star season, you know? But then, of course, we all feel like we would all literally stand back and go, your look is great. No, your look is great. No, yours is awesome. And then they'd be like, you get out there and be like, this is terrible, and you're like, but wait, no, it's cool. Like, why aren't you seeing what I see? Like, but you know,
luckily we see it though.
Right, we made it. Home. Yeah, we made it hard on them, but you know, like that's the point of an All-Star season. So, I mean, I'm so proud of everybody that was on the season. I don't care what anyone says. The first team that went to the last team that goes, like, I don't care. I think everyone on this is so talented.
Everybody rocked it out, and you're all winners because you're all back here for All-Stars. Right. You're all picked as, you know, people we want to see more of.
Yeah, and I always thought I was super excited to be asked back because I was like, you know, like season 1, I feel like I did like one of the coolest. I think, I mean, and this may be biased, but I think everybody out of everyone on the finale, my piece was like the coolest, and I'm not saying that because this and that. I just think it was the coolest. Like, it may not have been, but to me it was. It was like, I liked the concept. I thought it was cool. I had my friends with me, and we just made something fun. And there was no like, oh, are the judges gonna like this? Oh, is this edge down right? It was like, fuck it, let's just do it. Let's have fun.
That's what I love. I love the fun. I love the energy. I love the positivity on the show. Yeah. Now, since we do have to say goodbye to you on the show, if there was one challenge that you could have done, not necessarily one that's done this season, but just any challenge that could be done, what would be your dream challenge?
It's so funny. I'm so glad you asked because I've seen every single season. I've seen every single episode. My all-time favorite challenge was from both, actually two. Okay, my 2 favorite challenges were both from season 2, and it was the water tank challenge, which is what that's my number 1. That's the one I would have wanted, just because for me, I've worked with underwater things. I could have done it in a heartbeat, and I would have done it so good. But also, I draw a lot of inspiration from sea life and aquatic life and deep sea creatures, and so it would have just been so cool.
It would have been off the hook.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, a little pun. But yeah, it would have been.
Here, normally I'm just like horrible puns all day just to like upset her.
I love it.
That's the only one.
I think it's great. Yes, it would have been off the hook, and it would have been like, that's the one that I wish I would have had out of all of them. And my second one would be the Tim Burton challenge from season 2, and I already know because they were given occupations and they had to create a character for it, and I would have chosen the one no one picked, which was the mailman, and he would have been delivering snail mail to the afterlife, so he would have been covered in snails, and he would have been like a ghost in the afterlife delivering mail from like World War I and World War II, and like it would have been really cool and a little like newsy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it would have been dope. But it would have been cool. That would be the one that I would have chosen, and I'm still obsessed. And I tell Matt and Tara from the season 2 that did they're the ones that won that water tank challenge. I tell them all the damn time. Every time I see them, I'm all, so I really liked your piece. And they're all, Gage, it's been like 6 years. Chill. I'm all, it's still super cool. It's like one of my favorite makeups I've ever seen on the show. That was, of course, until Emily and Tyler did that last one. I honestly, that one would have been ranking up there with one I would have loved to have participated in, just because it is so imaginative and whimsical and fun.
And you would have raised the grade above sea level.
Right, exactly. Oh. It would have just been super fun. Like, I would have loved that. And I would have loved to have partaken in the marionette challenge. But, of course, they're like, bye. And now the cool challenge is come. And I'm like, oh. But, a lot of people told me that they would have loved to have had the disguise challenge from season 1. So many contestants I talked to on subsequent seasons were like, that's the one I would have won. I'm like, why? That was the partaking in that challenge was like one of the worst feelings in the world, because they're like, not only you have to do great makeup, you have to do it on yourself, and you have to act, and you have to fool a loved one. I'm like, I think that's
cool. I loved it.
It's great to hear it, but like, to actually do it was so nerve-wracking.
I imagine that's so stressful.
So like every free moment, I'm all, guys, let's practice our voices. Guys, let's practice our voices. Everybody, let's practice our voices. Like, it was like totally like I was a ball of nerves on that one. But I did a woman named Monique, and it was because of me that they can't ever do like another challenge like that, because I changed race and it was like offensive to some people, and I'm all, but why? Like, I'm a big gay Hawaiian. Like, why would that be offensive? Like, at all. But, and I'd handle it, I felt, with so much class. Wasn't demeaning or degrading, but because that risk factor of people changing races is incorporated.
They had that too. I know Ben's season that they had, the disguise challenge, and there was some pushback from that. I think they all look great. I think because it's the intention behind it is to make a character in a story that would have had that disguise, that change.
Correct, yeah.
That, like, side behind the scenes.
Right, and for season 1, we had to create a character that worked in a wig and nail salon. Like, come on. Like, you're not going to... and I'm 6'2", covered in tattoos. Like, I have to go a route that is sensible. And that one was sensible. Yeah. I had to cover my tattoos. I'm tall. So like, I
loved all of your challenges, and I love all the stuff that you've worked on too. So
thanks.
And I know you have so many fans too at home who are all excited to see more from you. So where can we find more from you again?
You can find more from me on Instagram, on Twitter, and on Facebook. All Gage Munster. Just Gage Munster.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. God, I feel like it flew by, and I'm like, oh my God, was like, okay? Did I do okay?
Yes, it was amazing. There's nobody here to judge. There's no panel of judges.
Right. I know. Thank you. I'm not used to that. I'm like, you're right. There isn't. It's
all just fans. And of course, you guys can always find us back here, AfterBuzz TV. I'm Alana Jordan. You can find me on Twitter at Alana Jordan, and on Instagram at That Alana Jordan Girl. You can find all of us at AfterBuzz TV, and keep up with the conversation. Use that hashtag ABTV Face Off.
Yes.
We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.